All right. Are you ready for this? I'm going to try to do this on the fly. I'm going to do a little introduction. I'm going to introduce you real quick, and then let me check my notes just to make sure, because I don't know why, dude. I was so ready, and now all of a sudden I'm like, what the fuck, dude? That's pretty. I like that book.
The ones.
That's why I didn't want you to smoke, because
what?
When you smoke, you get very interrupted.
Oh well, she already knows I'm interrupt. I interrupt all the time anyway, right?
And I talk too much anyway, so it's not a big deal.
I know Missy, and I know though she knows to tell me to shut the fuck up, right?
I won't do that, but I'll try to say it nicely.
Okay, you got to give me a keyword, but check out, this is my that handmade notebook. I'm gonna use it for the first time with my pencil, my wood pencil. That's pretty cool, right?
I love it.
I'm gonna use it for the first time. So now this is gonna be, I'm gonna consider this book my I don't know, my astrology book. How about that?
I'm going to turn my table a little bit just to get better light, because I'm in the shade and we don't want that. That's not.
Oh, it's super too.
It's like beautiful day today, right? I don't know like how it's what it's been for you guys, but okay, because I'm losing light, so I'm going to go ahead and start. Okay, so hi everyone, we're here today. I'm going to do a reading for Christi, a transit reading for the new moon in Pisces, which is March 2nd, 2022. Christi has very kindly agreed to let me do a reading for her here on camera, and we're going to post it on Facebook as a companion to my forecast. So everybody say hello to Christi. Christi, say hi.
Hi everybody.
She's my friend. Anyway, so Christi, you guys probably know her from Get Stoned. In fact, Get Stoned, you'll see this video there, so you know her from Get Stoned. If you don't know what Get Stoned is, it's her group where Christi makes a lot of beautiful jewelry. If you're interested, look her up on Facebook. Like I said, the name of the group is Get Stoned. So anyway, we are going to talk about, and I forgot to do my share screen. This is where it gets interesting.
You're gonna show me that thing.
I'm gonna what?
All the things, my sign stuff, right?
Oh yes, I forgot about doing your signs real quick. Okay.
Well, those, yeah.
Wait a minute. It's got the wrong actual videos, or it's got the wrong pictures up on here. Hold on a second. Okay, this is the one we want. Let me get it open. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, so Christi is right. One thing that I had talked about that I wanted to do with her is I wanted to help her understand, you know, what traits pertain to her when it comes to her sun, moon, and rising sign. So she was explaining to me that when she reads, you know, what is an Aquarius, what makes an Aquarius, she has some trouble because she can't remember everything. And you don't have to remember everything when it comes to these placements in your chart. The only thing you have to remember is the aspect of that particular sign that pertains to you. So Christi, I'm going to give you some keywords, and then I want you to only write down some of the keywords that you think would pertain to you, even if it's something that you think might be something that you don't really want to admit, but you know it's part of your personality, right? So when we talk so when we talk about Aquarius, one of the biggest things that people will notice about Aquarius is they tend to be a little bit unusual in some way, shape, or form. This can be, you know, an unusual appearance, an unusual way of thinking, you know, an unusual hobby. There's something about them that's just a little bit different. Another thing is that they can be rebellious. They like to, yes, they like to break the mold. They like to be different. That's the reason that they're unusual. They do not want to be a carbon copy of anybody else. Another aspect of Aquarius is that they are always forward thinkers. When it comes to anything that's like electronic, online, digital, new age, like the newest technology that's out there, Aquarius is usually on the cutting edge of that. They're usually very, very interested in, or somehow, you know, creating or responsible for it. Aquarius is also surprisingly very emotional, but they don't actually show it. This is one of those signs that gets a bad rap for being cold, when the reality is they actually very much see, well, it's true, they very much see like both sides. They very much see, you know, humanity from all sides, but the reason that they seem so cold is because they understand so much of it, right? You know, Aquarius being ruled by Saturn, they're hard workers. They also you know, even though they're a little bit rebellious, they also tend to be, you know, like the rule, like the person that comes in to set down the law, the one who's going to be, you know, not really the rule setter, although they could be, but they're more the one that's going to come in and set down the law and make you follow the rules as they see them. Because again, Aquarius is just a little bit unusual, in my opinion. So let's talk about your moon sign. You have a Virgo moon, okay? So one of the most obvious aspects about the Virgo sign is that they are very detail oriented, very, very detail oriented. Not only do they notice the details, but they like to pay attention to the details when they're working on something, right? It's very important to them to make sure that they get things right the first time so that they don't have to go back in and redo. So when you're talking about like your emotional life, and it comes to Virgo, right? You're one of those people that, you know, before you're even going to go in and say, I love you to somebody, you're going to make certain that you've got, you know, like that all of the details sort of match for how you feel, right? Like this is going to be, you're going to be certain about it. Also, if you have an argument that you want to present to somebody, you're going to make sure that you've got your details in order as well. So, you know, another aspect about Virgo is that, again, this is another very hardworking sign. Virgo is an earth sign, so they're very, very grounded. Now, Aquarius can be kind of out there. So having your moon in Virgo being very grounded is actually a good thing. That's what keeps you sort of solid and hooked into like family and home. And it's, I think, what gives you purpose as well for what it is that you do. It's your heart and what's attached to your heart. And so let me think of some other traits for Virgo. I'm trying to do this off the cuff because I forgot to actually look up the list of keywords like I promised Christy that I would. And so, you know, here I am having to make up for it just off the top of my head. And it's, but it's okay. So now we're going to talk about your rising sign, Christy. You have Gemini rising. So Gemini rising tends to be a little bit, you know, you can't make up your mind. Like you might have some difficulty. I'm sorry, but it's true. Gemini is also, they like to learn, they like to study, but the thing about Gemini, the difference between Gemini and their opposite, which is Sagittarius, is Gemini likes to go in and learn something, but they kind of do it very quickly. Whereas if you had Sagittarius, which is the opposite of Gemini, you would want to do it long term. This would be more going to college to get a degree that's like, you know, going to take you several years. Whereas having Gemini rising, you want to study something, but you want it to be quick. You want to get the information as fast as you can so that you can move on to something else and something new, right? Like I say, you can't make up your mind, but that's because there are so many options to choose from. And then you add in that Virgo moon, you want to make sure you get the best option. So that's where this attention to detail comes in for you and you get stuck a little bit. And I know having ADD, this can be one of those factors that will contribute to it and make things a little bit more difficult for you, is having too many choices, having too much information, too much input, too many, you know, different things to consider can be something that's difficult for you. So now that you've written those down, I just want you, go ahead.
And so I just had to.
Why do you have to laugh?
So true. It's true. It's so true. If I were to show you all my projects, because I can't make up my mind and there are too many choices, they're not complete. So that's all very true.
But it's okay. You embrace it, and that's a good thing. You know, that's the beauty of it, is the fact that you embrace it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to this chart. Can you see my cursor right here?
Yeah.
Okay. So right up here where I have it, where I've written hidden blessing, okay, this is actually the new moon in Pisces. And for this chart, okay, so just to explain for everyone, my intention when casting this chart, I cast it as a natal chart because people in our circle like to set intentions at the new moon. They are trying to create something. They are trying to birth something, which is the reason that I cast this as a natal chart for the new moon. So doing that, I look at the rising sign, I'm looking at the angles, I'm looking at everything in this particular chart. So by setting it that way, the new moon happens to fall in Pisces in the 11th house. Now, if you look at this new moon, you can see that they are the sun and the moon are both at 12 degrees of Pisces, as you can see right here from my cursor. And Jupiter is also in conjunction with this new moon at 14 degrees. Now, anytime you have a planet that close to the sun, what happens is that the energy of that planet tends to get hidden, right? Because the sun's energy is so big and so bright and so hot, it tends to sort of overpower whatever gets close to it, right? So Jupiter's energy tends to be that of a blessing or abundance or some sort of something good that's going to come about, but you may not see it yet with this particular new moon because Jupiter is hidden within the rays of the sun. All right. So that's why I'm calling this the hidden blessing for this particular new moon. Now, for everyone in terms of what I'm reading here, as well as anyone who is Taurus rising, this portion of the general reading portion of this video is for you, okay? Or if you are a Taurus sun and you don't know what your rising sign is, you can watch this general reading portion of the video for you. So again, having this hidden blessing here in the 11th house for most people, but for Taurus rising in particular, that means this blessing is actually going to come in the form of, you know, maybe your friendships or community in some way. But you have to be very careful because over here where I have this marked that says avoid power struggles, we've got Pluto and Mars in conjunction. They're both at 27 degrees. They're only a few minutes apart, but Venus is also right there 1 degree away at 26 degrees in Capricorn. Now here's the thing, okay? This is hitting in the 9th house. Pluto loves power. Mars loves to act. Capricorn loves power. Capricorn loves to work, okay? You put those two together and you put them together in the 9th house and you've got a situation where you can end up being a little bit too dogmatic, a little bit too set in your ways or too set in your views, and this can become a problem, right? We do have Venus here in this conjunction, which is sort of taming Mars a little bit, as well as Pluto, but you know, she's closer to Mars, so she's taming Mars more so than anything, which means that can tame a little bit of the anger that may come out if you are, I don't know, talking with one of your friends and maybe you have a disagreement over your belief system, or it could be anything, some sort of higher value, right? You have to really be careful how you interact with that friend, because if you argue too much, if you get too stuck in your views, you don't have an open mind, you don't have an open heart for whatever it is that they have to say right here with this Mercury and Saturn conjunction in Aquarius in the 10th house, it could really cause a problem. You could end up ending a friendship that you may not want to end, right? And so I want to call your attention down here to Earth, which is directly opposite of the new moon. Earth is always opposite of the sun in every single chart. Earth is not I mean, it is a planet, but in terms of astrology, when you're looking at a chart, this is not an actual point in the sky. This represents us right here. This is the point where we are right here. And when you're looking at a new moon, because it sits opposite of the sun, this is saying, and it's pointing to the area of your chart or in your life where you are going to, everything that you're doing now, that it's going to manifest in some way in this area of your life. So this is the 5th house. The 5th house is the house that has to do with things like romance, fun, joy, play, children, creativity, music, all of these things. This is the house that's ruled by Leo and the sun naturally, okay? So anything that you do up here is going to affect all of those areas that are covered by the 5th house. It's going to be different for everybody, okay? Because this is a general reading for all people, but specifically for Taurus, sun, or rising. or moon as well, but Taurus sun or rising mainly. Okay, so now that we've looked at the general reading and we know that, you know, when it comes to the new moon, there's going to be some sort of hidden blessing for everyone. All right. And for most people, you know, your friends, your community are probably going to be that hidden blessing for you in some way, somebody coming from your friends or community. You're going to need to preserve your reputation by being willing to negotiate and compromise with anyone that you have any type of communication with. You know, right now, and with the intentions that you set for this particular new moon. And you're going to have to be very, very careful about getting into, you know, arguments and power struggles because you are so set in your ways that you're not willing to compromise. All right. So now we're going to look at Christi's chart in particular, because that's what this video is about. It's a transit reading for her, and it's to help other people who are kind of new to astrology, but understand what transits are. They kind of understand their chart, and they want to know how to use transits in their own life and in their own chart in order to manifest whatever it is that they're intending, whatever it is that they want to create. So from here, we're going to move to Christi's chart. All right. So Christi, you can see my cursor, right?
Yes.
Okay, so remember we talked about how you've got your sun in Aquarius, right? You have your moon down here in Virgo, and your rising is at, it looks like 3 degrees of Gemini. Okay, so the first thing that we want to look at in your transit chart is where is the new moon falling. So for you, the new moon is actually falling right here. Actually, it's falling in your 10th house, because your 10th house, your 11th house cusp is at 3 degrees of Pisces. So the new moon is falling over here in your 10th house, and it's conjoining with your sun and Vulcan. Oh, interesting. Okay, so your hidden blessing, Christi, is going to be in terms of your work, your reputation, whatever it is, like whatever the hard work is that you put into something, right? Because Vulcan, the energy of Vulcan, and by the way, just for anybody who's interested, Vulcan is always next to your sun. Always, always. The reason that it's there is because Vulcan is the drive that you have to create whatever it is that your soul needs, you know, whatever it is that your soul is here for, right? This is your drive, the energy, the effort that you put in. It's basically ask the question, how badly do you want it, and what are you willing to do to get it, right? So for Christi, you know that your work, right, is where you're going to have this blessing come in because of the energies with Jupiter being a little bit hidden right here by the sun and the new moon, and it's conjoining to your own sun and Vulcan in the 10th house. So having your sun and Vulcan in the 10th house says that your work reputation is very important to you. You enjoy having not only a good work reputation, but work itself is very important to you. You have a lot of drive, you have a lot of get up and go when it comes to that type of stuff. And you're very communicative naturally when it comes to that as well. I want you to notice that you have Mercury natally at 25 degrees. And right here in the transits, Mercury is at 19 degrees. So this Saturn and Mercury conjunction is actually conjoining your Pallas Athena, Mercury, Lilith, and Venus that are all in Aquarius. And so the reason that that's really good is because let's say you have to advocate for yourself. And the reason that I say that is because Pallas Athena, she, you know, or Athena, that's what she does. She advocates for the little guy. She advocates, you know, for anyone who's been bullied, right? And so Mercury is right next to her. So naturally, this is something that you do anyway. You don't like for people to be treated poorly, and so you will speak up anyway as it is. But having Saturn and Mercury come in to create this transit with all of this energy that you have right here that's already willing to fight for the underdog says, you know, there's something that's going to happen around your work situation that may seem very stressful, right? Because Saturn restricts. Saturn is heavy energy. Saturn makes you have to work. It brings responsibility. It brings, you know, lessons and karma and things like that, wisdom. And so there's something that could happen around work where you may see it as a hard thing, a difficult thing. You might have to stand up for yourself. You might have to stand up for somebody else. But ultimately, in the end, it's going to bring you a blessing that you just don't see at the time, right? So again, now you've got Pluto, Mars, and Venus transiting your ninth house. So for you in particular, again, this is where it's saying, be very careful about getting so stuck in your ways and so stuck in your views that in this argument you aren't listening to the other side, right? You're not giving consideration or fair consideration to the other side. And especially if there's something that maybe they're saying that you don't really want to hear, maybe try to try to give it a chance is basically what the advice is for you. And so it's interesting because your chart here, the way that the transits are lining up in your chart, it's almost the same house positions as those who are Taurus rising, because you're Gemini rising and you are just a few minutes away from the actual ascendant, right? So again, where this is actually going to affect you in the future is going to be in those fifth house areas that I already mentioned before in the general reading. All right. And so now I want to bring up Joseph, because you guys are married. You and Joseph are both married. And so the fact that you're married and you are in business together means that just about anything that happens in the transits to you is going to affect him as well, right? So now we're going to look at his chart to see how the transits are affecting him. And his are very interesting, okay? This is because he is in the middle of his nodal return. And as you can see where my cursor is down here, it's an exact position at the time of the new moon. His natal north node is at 25 degrees of Taurus, and the transiting north node is at 25 degrees of Taurus. Also, the transiting ascendant is at 20 degrees of Taurus, which means the focus is going to be on Joseph. Somehow, some way, whatever it is that happens in terms of work for you, somehow Joseph is going to be the focus of it. And I think there might be people in your social circle that may be unhappy about something that he either says or does or something, where it's like all of this energy right here, right? He's got Venus, Chiron, Saturn, Pallas Athena, and Venus, Chiron, Saturn, Pallas Athena in Pisces, and then he's got Mercury in Aries, all in the 12th house. This is all like hidden energy. Anything that you've got in the 12th house is what's in your blind spot, or it's what you hide from others, or what others hide from you. But in this particular instance for him, this is all energy that he doesn't really like go out in the public with. And I think this is that aspect of Joseph where, he's got a public service kind of aspect to his personality. You know what I mean? And I think that there might be, because of the way that the full moon is hitting him right here with it's at the full moon and then Jupiter are hitting him almost at his Venus, right? So there's something where there's a hidden blessing.
Yes, and not, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Fine, I was kind of making a joke, but go ahead.
Oh,
sorry. I want to. I know. Please go ahead.
Well, so I think the hidden blessing.
Now and then, I do have to get those sexual connotations out
Oh.
and everything.
Okay, that's all right. I know that already. I do. I know that already.
For me. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so the hidden blessing for him is going to be all of this energy that he carries naturally anyway, because it's conjoining his Venus. So his heart is going to be his blessing, right? I know. Go ahead, say it.
Penis. I mean, conjoining the penis, rising. Like, I don't know. There were so many sexual words that you just said all in one sentence. I had to laugh. I'm sorry. It is. I am who I am.
I know. It's no big. Okay, and so
right.
And so this is where the community is going to be coming in, and there could be someone from the community or maybe from his friends group who says, look, there's something that you said, right? Or there's something that you did. And I think it might be, like I say, attached to your guys's business or something that you do on Facebook or in the public, right? Something that he said or did that maybe somebody doesn't really like so much. And so they say something to him about it. And, you know, he's going to have to like defend himself and, you know, defend his heart and who he really is and like the service that he provides, because he does. Not only did he provide service like in the military, first of all, but I think he does provide service to his community often. And I think people don't know that about him. And I think people need to know that about him. But again, you have this thing where he has to avoid like trying to control the scenario or trying to control the narrative, especially when it comes to get stoned or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. Like if there is something where he thinks things should be a certain way, especially because of somebody saying something, right? Or bringing something up where they're like, I don't really like what you said or did. And he's like, well, you know, somebody so-and-so is unhappy about XYZ, so we have to change this moving forward. He's got to kind of watch that. He's got to be willing to compromise with that because, you know, maybe it's not really that the person who has the problem needs to get their way. Maybe it's that the person who has the problem needs to educate themselves on whatever the issue is, because that's truly what I feel is kind of coming out in this because of the way that the Earth is hitting him in the 6th house, right? It has to do with the way that how he spends his time each day. And it also has to do with like healing, right? Healing and transformation, because Earth is conjoining his Pluto Uranus conjunction here in the 6th house. So again, you know, I'm not so sure that maybe they should change his mind. Maybe it's that he should be changing their minds, or he should be teaching the community in some way, shape, or form. Does that make sense?
Perfectly. Perfect sense. That's what I'm talking about. And it's already been happening.
Oh,
It started with me, but I'm curious about with Joseph, if it's going to lead to what you're saying with him.
yeah.
So it's very interesting. Yeah.
You'll have to let me know. Yeah, definitely let me know.
Oh, I'm an open book, but
I know.
it I have anything to do with get stoned. It has to do with Pangea.
Oh, okay. All right.
Very well, and everything tied to it with tribes and community members and those sorts of things, the injustices type thing.
Okay. Yeah, makes perfect sense too for what's going on. And if you want to talk about it more later, like outside of the video, we absolutely can. Yeah,
no,
we absolutely can.
You're right on point.
Well, good. Good. So I hope my advice helps. I know that there's a lag too in the way that we're speaking, and I hope that my advice will help. You know what I'm going to do at this point, just because we're having the lag and I'm having difficulty hearing your input from it, I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to stop the video so that I can edit it later on, and then you and I are going to go ahead and talk by screen share or by Zoom real quick, okay?
Okay.